Hi everyone, my name is Sean and this is my presentation for Business Information Systems 550. For my presentation, I focused on AI implementation in the K through 12 education system. This is not a presentation on how to implement AI, but rather just the general state of affairs of AI in K through 12 education, as well as just considerations as the technology continues to develop. In this presentation, I focus specifically on the K-12 education system in the United States. A few of my sources consider global implications, but I try to stay centered on the United States just for the focus of scope in this presentation. I look at both the pros and cons of AI implementation, as well as a few ethical considerations as we consider AI in the classroom. Finally, I wrap up with a few questions to consider at the end for class discussion this week. Just a quick overview on the US K-12 education system. There are three major types of schools in the United States today: public, private, and charter. Without getting too far into them, a lot of the differences have to do with funding, religious tradition, as well as just private interest and how that could look in that K through 12 education system. The Department of Education plays a central role in providing these resources and accountability measures, but in reality and practice, most education policy, funding, and impact happens at the state and local levels. A few major debates in education today are school choice funding, curriculum development and usage, and technology usage in the classroom, particularly for this presentation, AI and what that can look like. A brief timeline of a few technological advancements and integrations in K-12 education. I thought it'd be helpful to just provide a little bit of background as we consider the rapid advancements here. In the 1970s, calculators and computers, not personalized ones, but rather just broader computing systems, begin to be utilized in education for a few various purposes. This would look very different from the way that we use those resources today, considering almost every student in high school is required to have a pretty advanced graphing calculator. By the 2010s, school districts began to utilize personal computers in the classroom more regularly to assist with learning. For many of us, this may have looked like Chromebooks, iPads, Microsoft Surface, tablets, a few different resources that are available to students. And then finally, over the past few years, newer technologies such as AI has finally made its way into the classroom and is one of the more highly debated issues in K-12 education today. Data privacy laws play an essential role as the U.S. Department of Education and state and local officials consider how to utilize this resource to their advantage. So for example, two federal laws are FERPA and COPPA, FERPA being the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act and COPPA being the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. These are federal level legislative laws that have impacted the way that schools operate and provide sensitive student data. Around half of the U.S. states have published guidance on AI policy, and in particular how it relates to data privacy laws for schools to use when thinking through their own use of AI in the classroom. So, for example, North Carolina utilized their own AI guidance based on what their state's existing digital learning plan had already looked like in the school systems. TeachAI is a source that I utilize throughout this presentation. TeachAI is a fantastic company that is conducting regular research and data development to move the needle forward in integrating AI more into the classroom. A few statistics that were particularly helpful and interesting as I read through this the first time were that 2/3 of parents believe the benefits outweigh the consequences when considering AI implementation in the classroom. Additionally, almost 3/4 of students are seeking guidance on how to utilize generative AI responsibly. While this is a single set of data and not all encompassing, my initial thoughts were that most students would not want parameters in place to allow for more flexibility in their own schoolwork. I know the more that you integrate AI into the classroom, the more students are going to be able to utilize it for a variety of purposes. Additionally, sometimes families can be skeptics if the cons are more noticeable than the potential benefits, especially if that comes up in the news or in newsletters home to families from the school districts. And so as families still continue to learn how AI impacts their students' learning, there can be concerns of major data breaches and other uses of AI that can negatively impact the conversation with families. However, for parents to hear about the downsides without great teacher implementation, it can make it a tough hill to climb. I think this data surprised me because it's actually showing us that almost 2/3, or really more than 2/3 of families are actually thinking that the benefits outweigh the detriments when considering AI integration. Just taking a quick look at a few potential benefits and risks. So, starting on the right, actually, school management and operational efficiency are essential for running effective schools. As schools continue to struggle to communicate with families, truancy rates continue to rise in the United States, and school leaders are taking on more and more tasks, AI can help manage the operations of a school. On the flip side, relationships require human interaction and conversation between schools, school leaders, teachers, and parents. There's a chance that we can become over reliant on AI to manage schools. Another example of a potential benefit of AI is the personalized assistance. In education, we call this differentiation, when a teacher or resource can provide the same content in different formats for students who learn differently. Manually, it can be cumbersome and challenging for teachers, often draining their time outside of class to prepare individualized lessons and assignments for a broad number of students in a classroom. A counter to this would be that misinformation can potentially run rampant if not checked through the use of AI. This has been an issue with ChatGPT at times in the news, and could easily enter classrooms if not carefully monitored. There are countless benefits and risks. A few more of them are illustrated in this image below. However, I think the important thing to focus on is going back to that piece of parent data on, do the benefits of AI in education outweigh the risks? I think that can help lead the conversation forward when considering the impact it can have in the classroom. Two brief examples of how AI, specifically ChatGPT and a few other generative AI resources, can be utilized in the classroom. ChatGPT has the ability to just scour the internet much faster than a teacher ever could, meaning that it could find better sources and content to present to students in the classroom. A potential drawback here, though, is that source accuracy is not always perfect, so a teacher would still need to check for accuracy when utilizing this resource. Again, this comes back to the conversation on pros and cons and which outweighs the other there. Another example would be utilizing AI to assist with grading. So, for example, if a teacher can use AI to craft a number of set responses for student works based on grade ranges. For the students who receive an A, they would receive one message automatically tagged to their assignment. For students who receive a B, they would receive a different message, and kind of so on throughout the grading scale. This could potentially save a teacher a ton of time, allowing them more bandwidth to communicate with families or focus their attention on students with the lowest marks. However, individual feedback makes a difference in all student learning, whether they're high achieving or struggling in certain classes. We risk alienating top achievers if they don't receive that personalized feedback and reward from their teacher for their work in the classroom. I think the ethical considerations are worth chewing on as well, just as we kind of go through the rest of this presentation here. The same challenges that could arise in other industries exist in education as well. Education is fundamentally a human process, which means that no matter how great the technology becomes, students will always be better off engaging with a human being to a certain degree. The ethical considerations become how much engagement with a human teacher is enough to still develop critically thinking kids. Other considerations include communication improvements and support of ELLs, or English language learners, which continue to rapidly rise in percentages across all school systems. How can we utilize AI to better support those students and remove barriers to their access to education? And as we consider the ethical consequences of AI integration in the K-12 education system, it's worth highlighting a few of the broader topics that may sway the impact potentially more positively or negatively depending on how they're implemented. So, for example, access or device connections really is the foundation piece to considering everything else here. Without having great access for students to internet and connectivity, it can be a real challenge and barrier for students to consider even implementing or integrating AI, or for even teachers to consider reaching families and communicating more effectively with them. The accuracy and fluency of the resource designs with AI can also determine how many students and teachers are impacted by it in the classroom. Finally, AI is meant to encourage critical thinking, not diminish it. We must keep in mind that the need to cultivate curiosity in students and how AI can support, not replace, that educational pursuit is really foundational to the conversation on technological advancements and integrations in the classroom. In my role and some of the relevance to my own work here, I work directly with schools and districts to connect K 12 teachers in a Master's of Education program at the University of Notre Dame with schools all around the country. It's essential that our teachers are excellent to ensure that schools continue to request them, meaning that we have to remain competitive and relevant in the way that we prepare our teachers, market them, and work with our school districts. As my program considers how to best prepare our teachers to utilize AI, my role will really require better fluency in data privacy laws, teacher formation, and available resources for these teachers. I also wanted to provide a list of a few companies who are pushing further integration of AI in the classroom. These companies provide resources, products, and further learning for teachers, school leaders, and really entire districts to better implement AI in the classroom. Given that this is a business information systems course, I felt it was necessary to demonstrate the correlation back to our work and how everything that we have learned up to this point on information systems plays out in real-world examples through some of these companies, such as Teach AI, Code, and CASPA. In addition to a few other institutes that are listed here on this list, these companies can make a difference in the business world and education sector. For me in my own career, as I consider the integration and pairing of a background in education with a new business acumen, these are a few companies that I feel do a great job of really pushing and advancing technology in the classroom as both a business and products that are increasing the common good in our classrooms. In conclusion, AI is a tool to be utilized, not feared, really throughout the K through 12 education system. Robust teacher preparation programs are needed to adequately prepare our teachers. Ethical usage of AI is a major consideration in data privacy and school district policies at both the state and the federal levels moving forward. And student and teachers, and really their families as well, benefit when technology is utilized for its intended usage and purpose, which means we'll need to continue to advance our understanding and our usage of AI in the classroom. As we consider where the next iteration of AI will take the K-12 education system, it's essential that we keep student learning at the center of the conversation, as that is really the core of the K-12 education system, how effectively we are preparing students to be the next generation of leaders in this country. Finally, I just want to provide a quick list of my sources. I utilized a variety of different formats. I used Professional Site Journal, utilized an article from UNESCO, and then I pulled a fair bit of information from Teach AI, which is a company that is promoting AI in education. And then to wrap up the presentation, I leave everyone with a few questions to consider. Feel free to choose any of them or provide general feedback on the presentation. Always looking to grow as a presenter as well. Again, my presentation was a pretty general overview of AI in education, as opposed to an in-depth analysis of the implications or ethical considerations. I look forward to engaging with everyone on the topic and hope that everyone has a great week. Thanks.